Hello, and this is Pia Mayanin. I wanted to thank each and every one of you who has been watching the Raga Festival by Surbandhan. And this year it's been online and throughout the month of December, and also will continue throughout the month of January. This year, Raga Festival has incorporated the first time ever Gharana Festival from the UK. It's the first time ever Gharana Festival from anywhere outside of Asia. And also, we have a first time Maestros of Bengal Festival. We have picked these two themes because it is very, very important for students and even performers of Indian classical music. It's a very fascinating subject for everybody. And even for listeners who listen to Indian classical music, knowing this information assists the listening very much. As we all know, Indian classical music is an acquired taste. So therefore, it's not somebody, somebody who listened to the first time ever may not like it as much as when you start to understand the music. The Maestros of Bengal Festival, we will be highlighting different maestros throughout the years, centuries, who have done work to contribute to the development of Bangla music. And we have picked Kazi Nazrul Islam, and the reason is his phenomenal work in the development of Indian classical music into Bangla music, incorporating it into Bangla music. And we also believe that Kazi Nazrul Islam's work has been undervalued over the years. And so without any further ado, this short video is a bit more information about Kazi Nazrul Islam. Before I start that, I will inform you that our next event is of the Gwalior Gharana, and Pandit Omkar Dadakar will be performing on the 9th of January on our Surbandhan page. So do check out, do keep an eye out for notifications. Kazi Nazrul Islam then. Nazrul Giti or Nazrul Sangeet refers to the songs of Kazi Nazrul Islam. Kazi Nazrul Islam was not only a revolutionary poet, but the level of his contribution of works was such that he was made the national poet of Bangladesh. Nazrul, as he is popularly referred to, not only incorporated revolutionary notions, but he also incorporated spiritual, philosophical, and romantic notions, and these themes were used in his compositions of nearly 4,000 songs, including his gramophone records. Many of his compositions are widely popular in India and Bangladesh. His poetry and music awakened the Indo-Islamic world and brought intense revolt against fascism, oppression, and boosted passionate activism for political and social justice, taking pains to unite Hindu and Muslims to fight the British for freedom. This earned him the Bidrohi Kobi, or the rebel poet title. When Nazrul joined the gramophone company, this is when he focused on Rag Sangeet, or Indian classical music. And he created not only Bhangagan, which I will explain in a minute, but original Bengali Rag Sangeet and Rag Pradhan, including his own ragas. Having learned Arabic and Persian, he was the pioneer of Bangla ghazals. The use of unique and authentic words like Jarin Fita, Anda Ishq, and Sharaber Arshiten, Angur Bage, Shiraje Nauraje, Bedardi, Gulbadani, Akhir Khasam, Gulbagicha, Saki, Shurer Tushar, Shurer Bokul, Mehdir Bera, and so much more, using impressions of Arabic, Farsi, and Urdu poets. He made his ghazals very lively and with tunes that even when the words were not understood, or the originality of the words were not there, the magical and the ornamental touch of the tunes covered this to the listeners. So ragas he would use usually would be Bhairavi, Mishra Bhairavi, Khamaj, Mishra Khamaj, Bihag, Mishra Bihag, Pahari, Jogia, Barwa Pilu, Pilu Khamaj, Bagesri, Sindhu Kafi, Purvi, Desh, Mishra Pahari, Brindavani Sarang, Meg, Pilu, Hindol, Bimbalasri, Nilamburi, Durga, Hamir, Mishra Yaman, Man, and so much more. Nazrul used diversification of tals in his ghazals. A unique characteristic of his compositions was the mention of the names of the rag within his lyrics, like Kar Banshuri Baje, Multani Shure, Multani Rag. And then there was Nilamburi Shari Pore, Nil Jamunai, Rag Nilamburi, and Aji Nijhum Rate Ke Banshi Bajai, referring to the Nijhum Rat or the midnight raga, Darbari Kanara, which was used in this composition. So, an expert using beautiful Kabba Sangit, equally effective imagery and metaphors, his songs would also use the tunes as Rag Sangit had given us. So, some of his songs would be Bhoria Poran, Shunati Jigan, Behag, and then you have Piu Piu Birohi Papiya Bole, and that is Rag Lalit, and then you have Keno Kade Puran, Tilak Kamud, then you have Oruno Kanti Ke Gujoki Bikari, Ahir Bhairo, and then you have Tumi Shunite Cheyona, Amar Moner Kotha, Hamaj, and the use of his rags would be exactly as it should be, without using his own opinion or imposing his own opinion. And this is what gave his music the originality of the creativity in Indian classical music. And this brought a very new and deep appeal to the listeners. So while it is historically true that Rag Sangit did bring a phase change into Bengali music from merely folk songs to now deeply moving songs, and this did start historically with Prabandha Sangit or Charjapad. However, true Bengali Rag Sangit started gloriously from the beginning of the 1900s. So Brahma Sangit, Shodeshi Sangit, Prem Sangit were the main Bengali Rag Sangits in the era of Nidhi Babu to Rabindranath, Jitendra Lal and Atul Prasad. And although these songs did develop on the basis of Drupad, Khyal or Toppa and came in the category of Rag Sangit, the objective of these songs was to express the inner feeling of the wordings of the Sangit through the notes. And this objective was fruitful in Ravindra Sangit. And although Rabindranath successfully expressed the ideals and objectives of Bengali Rag Sangit in his songs, yet he couldn't fulfill the demand of people in his songs. So he gave directions to sing his songs, and one could not sing and cannot sing Ravindra Sangit without maintaining those directions. And whilst Rabindranath started a new chapter in the history of Bengali Kabba Sangit through his deep wordings and deeply moving notes, appropriately expressing the wordings, this could not satisfy the demand of the listeners. Nazrul was helped greatly by Ustad Jamiluddin Khan, and Ustad Jamiluddin was a Tumri singer, son of Murshid Khan Ambalewale, a famous Drupad artist who had settled in Calcutta at the close of the 19th century. And Jamiluddin was born there. So Jamiluddin learned Tumri from his father first, and afterwards took lessons in Khyal from Khalifa Khan Badal, and then Tumri from Goharjan, a professional dancing girl and singer, and then from Maizuddin, a famous Tumri singer, from whom he also learned Dadra. And then continuing Maizuddin's tradition, after his death, he became the king of Tumri. Ustad Jamiluddin was associated with the gramophone company as the chief instructor. Nazrul had made a confident base on Rag Sangit, He considered himself an obedient student of Ustad Jamiluddin. He was influenced by Indian classical music, by people like Ustad Kadir Baksh, Majnu Shah, David Khan Sahib, his grandson, or veena player Wazir Khan of the Tansen link. And then you have Ganendra Prasad Goswami, a renowned exponent of the Vishnupur Gharana and Mastangama. Nazrul also took lessons from Khalifa Badul Khan of the Delhi Gharana and Ustad Faiz Khan of the Agra Gharana. Nazrul composed a large number of Hindustani ragas in different forms, and he was greatly inspired by the Khyal and Tumri. While Rabindranath was inspired by Drupad, and Dijendra Lal Roy was inspired by both Khyal and Tappa, the main attraction for Atul Prasad was Tumri, and the main attraction of Nazrul was Khyal and Tumri. So he composed numerous Kabba Sangits on different rags, sometimes on two rags and by mixing rags. So to call a part of his work as Rag Sangit is very difficult because of the sheer volume. Nazrul's work were vastly on rag, and if songs were to be classified according to the use of tune, then most of his songs would come under Rag Sangit, although they are not at the moment. They're categorized according to the words. So an example could be his love songs and his Shema Sangit, which also come under Khyal. So the main inspiration of Nazrul was Khyal and Tumri, and Khyal and Tumri are very romantic songs. So Nazrul found similarities between Khyal and Tumri. With his romantic state of mind that can be compared with a cloudy sky which has a deep and vast spread but is standstill. Khyal represents the deep and vast spreading of the state of mind, and Tumri represents its standstill where all the pains are centered but cannot express itself. As a romantic poet, Nazrul successfully established these two states of cloudy sky through his Khyal and Tumri. Hindustani Rag Sangit has a vast scope in it to express poetical imaginations and feelings through it. As we all know, Khyal is a Persian word meaning imagination. So in this field, he is incomparable even today. Narayan Chaudhary, musicologist, gave his conclusion whilst explaining the characteristics of songs of Nazrul, that Nazrul has no affection to Drupad, whereas he was greatly attached with Khyal and Tumri. Abdul Aziz Al-Aman gave a beautiful explanation of this in the context of Akhondo Nazrul Giti. We were acquainted with two main streams of Indian Rag Sangit. One stream is Drupad and the other is Khyal Tumri. The first stream was created by Hindus and the second stream was a contribution by the Muslims. The first stream, Drupad, is purely based on theory. It has deep feelings, full of artistry, and the second stream, Tumri, contains beautiful notes which touch our hearts undoubtedly. So the stream of Sangit created by Muslims was said to be more popular than the other stream. Narayan Chaudhary explained that Hindu and Muslim was used to tell the difference of the origin of the two streams and not in the communal sense. The difference between the two is so clear that it can be seen in the difference between North Indian classical music and South Indian classical music. The contribution of Muslims created the North Indian and South Indian music or Carnatic music is fully developed by Hindus. While Carnatic musics are more conservative, strictly adhering to compositions, upholding the purity of the raga, North Indian classical music uses ornaments and decorations and even slight changes in notes, so long as the flavor of the raga is not changed. And with that, North Indian classical music also changes with the different creators and artists. Hence, we have the different Gharanas. So it goes from one phase to another. And the great Maharashtrian artist Vishnunarayan Bhatkandi stated that the North Indians, Muslims, are not so strong in theory as the Hindu artists, but the charm and the sweetness of the notes are greater in comparison. So while the main objective of Drupad, as I explained, is the purity of the raga, the main objective of Khyal is the decoration of the notes used. I hope that has been clear. So in this way, North Indian songs do not create any barriers to prevent new ragas and notes that are continuously entering these songs. Furthermore, they're not limited to Khyal and Tumri. We have Dadra, Sadra, Bhanga Khyal, Geet, Natta, Kawali, Tappa, Ghazal, Kajri, and so on and so forth, thereby making itself culturally very rich. So 2/3 of the total of Nazrul's songs are based on ragas. So Bhangagan was an old custom to compose songs by breaking original Hindustani songs onto Bangla songs based on the melody of the original tune. From the time of Nidhu Babu and Kali Mirza, Bengali Sangeet was composed in this way. In some cases, the wordings of the Bengali songs follow the same wordings of the Hindi song. Kali Mirza was more inclined to Hindustani Sangeet than Nidhu Babu, writing a large number of this type of songs at the beginning of his career. And also in this connection, Ramapati Bandabadai was most famous among the composers at the beginning. In his book of 1862, Sangeeta Dasha is such a collection of Bhangagan, Bengali songs in accordance with the original Hindi Drupad. So later on, this type of Bhangagan was developed by the famous Thakur family of Jorashanko. Dijendranath, Shatendranath and Jatindranath Thakur wrote Bhangagan. But the most developed part of Bhangagan was written by Rabindranath. Vishnu Chakrabarti, Jadu Bhatta, Radhika Prasad, Goswami wrote Bengali Drupad Brahma Sangeet by breaking Hindu Drupad songs. And so Bhangagan took a remarkable place in the history of Bengali songs. So Nazrul, by comparison, has written less number of songs in this way compared to the other poets. And a number of Nazrul's songs is the exact translation of the Hindi Khyal. For example, Kuhu Kuhu Koeliya, Rag Hamaj is a copy of Nama Nungi, and then you have Meghe Meghe Ado Oshim Akash, which is Jai Jayanti, and it's Damini Damke Dara Mohilage, and then there's Shunno Bukhe Paki Mod Phire, which is Rag Chai Note Bar Bar Kahe Hari Tumso, and then Gunjamala Gole Kunje Esho Mal Gunji Morli Ki Dhani Suno Sakhi, and then there's Mego Medhuru Boro Shai Kothai Tumi, that is Jai Jayanti, More Mandire Ablo Nahi Aaye. There's also Piu Piu Birohi Papiya Bole, Piu Piu Rathata Papiya, and this is the first type of song. But there is a second style by Kazi Nazrul Islam, and it is not, although it's based on the Hindustani manner, it is not based on the original Bandish. So Nazrul gave a noteworthy contribution to both these streams. Rabindranath Tagore, Atul Prasad Sen, Jatindranath Tagore were the pioneers of Bhangagan, but their songs could not satisfy the demand of listeners because the words of their songs were too much poetical and focused on the poetical side and not very much connected with the rag-based ornaments in Hindustani Sangeet. As a result of this, the listeners' demand increased, centering the city of Calcutta, and gradually this demand was met by the famous singers like Dilip Kumar Roy, Ganendra Prasad Goswami, Vishwadev Chattopadhyay, Tarapada Chattopadhyay, and Sachin Dev Barman. Khyal and Khyal kind of songs were very appealing at the time, more appealing than Drupad, and it was very difficult to write Bengali songs in this Hindustani manner. But Nazrul had successfully done that. you had to compose it in a regional and non-Bengali manner, and that was very difficult. So Nazrul did this by giving prime importance to the melody of the song, and this way you could feel the depth of the raga used in his songs. Omolendu Bikashkar Chaudhary stated while discussing the contribution of Nazrul Islam's to the development of Rag Pradhan that Rag Pradhan Gan is very grateful to the poet Kazi Nazrul Islam, compared to whom and where the name Rag Pradhan is taken from. It is true that Nazrul did not compose any songs under the title of Rag Pradhan, but many of his songs would come under Rag Pradhan if we did not call it Nazrul Giti. And born examples of the Rag Pradhan songs are Sajiye Chojogi, Nilambori Shari Pore, Nil Jamunai, and then Shunnoe Buke Pakhi Mor, Shure O Banir Mala Diye, and they are titled as Nazrul Giti and not Rag Pradhan. One can get an idea of the old Bethar Jagat magazine, how Kazi Nazrul spread different rag and ragani by broadcasting them. He had to think widely, and because he was attached with Radio Calcutta and Suresh Chandra Chakraborty helped in this regard, he created many rags and broadcasted them. And Bethar Jagat, page 30 of the 1940s, 16th of January edition would show this. So he also published a book, Navarag Malika, about the mixing of ragas, and talked about his own creation of rags, including Rag Benuka, and his composition was Benuka Ke Bajai Mahua Bone. So Nazrul clearly occupies a great place as a pioneer of Rag Pradhan songs. And Shu Kumar Roy stated that through this subject, a new creative era began in the history of Bengali Sangeet. It's not an easy matter to create a rag from 12 notes in a keeping and discarding some notes manner, but Nazrul has done this with great skill, and it remains as an inspiration for the future artists and helps in the development of modern rag Sangeet. Notation of many of his songs were given by Jagat Khatak, and all the notations are found from personal notebook. The poet once lost his notebook, and with it some songs that were based on antiquated and extinct ragas that are lost forever. Some of those songs were recovered after hard work, and examples of those songs are Choitali Chadni Rate on Madhu Madhavi Sarang, and Dao Shorjo Dao Darjo on Hembanti. So Nazrul also created Rag Pradhan on Carnatic rags like Kabiri Nodi Jole Kego Balika. So he ends that song saying Tomaroi Tonni Shama Karnatika, the name of the rag. He completed 17 ragas of his own and also created Lakhan Geet, where the characteristics of the raga were described in his words of the Lakhan Geet, and this is very, very unlike the Hindi Lakshman Geet. So Nithai Ghatak wrote in this connection that he had just started writing these songs, and his future plan was to write more songs of different parts, but God had not given him that opportunity. Nithai Ghatak continued that his desire will not be fulfilled and it will never materialize. We were also deprived from a beautiful creation, and this is bad luck for Bengalis as well as for Bengal. I hope you have found this interesting, and I look forward to seeing you all on the 9th of January, where we will listen to Gwalior, and after that on the 16th we will be listening to Vidushi Arif Laila on the sitar, where she will play some beautiful compositions of Kazi Nazrul Islam. She is a senior disciple of the senior Mahar Gharana. And then we will also have Pandit Chiranjeev Chakrabarti showing us the Patiala Gharana style. And then we will have Pandit Sanju Sahai, the living guru of the Banaras Tabla Gharana. We will have Pandit Satyashil Deshpande, who will be showing us an array of Qaranas, and more that I can't think of at the moment. We will have so much more all throughout the next year. Is wishing everybody a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. See you soon.